Alright, and here on our news it says Clarity Act update for XRP holders. Senator Lummis states what will happen if the bill fails. Alright? Now, imagine waking up to discover that the single most critical legal framework for XRP and the entire digital asset industry is dangling over a steep cliff. If it falls, we are not looking at a routine minor delay of a few weeks or months. We are looking at a regulatory blackout that could freeze market progress all the way until 2030. Right now is July 2026. Washington is locked in a high-stakes game of political chess. While every day XRP holders are waiting for long overdue market rules, a massive political fight in the Senate threatens to derail years of hard work. So today we are breaking down the critical battle lines, the sudden demands coming out of Capitol Hill, and why analyst warnings suggest the next 2 weeks will decide the future of digital assets for the next decade. Now, why is Senator Lummis warning that crypto regulation could be frozen until 2030? Right? The clock is ticking louder than ever on Capitol Hill. Senator Lummis right here recently issued a blunt warning to the entire digital asset community. If the Senate fails to pass the Clarity Act during this current legislative window, crypto regulation in the United States will be shelved until 2030. To understand why the timeline is so severe, you have to look at the harsh reality of the congressional calendar. The Senate is scheduled to depart for its annual August recess on August 7, 2026. Following that break, the upcoming 2026 midterm election schedule compresses available Senate floor time down to near zero. If this bill does not get a floor vote before senators leave town, the legislative momentum disappears. Once a new Congress convenes, the entire bill dies procedurally, and the legislative counter resets to zero. That means starting from scratch in a brand new political environment. So in my personal opinion, Senator Lummis's warning here is not just political theater. It is a realistic assessment of Washington gridlock. If lawmakers allow this window to slip away, digital asset regulation will sit on the back burner for years, while competing global markets push forward. Now, how did Jamie Dimon and the banking elite get called out over the Clarity Act? The fight over the Clarity Act is not just happening behind closed doors. It is spilling out into public view. Senator Lummis appeared on CNBC's Squawk Box to directly confront banking executives, specifically targeting JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon. Right here. And that's after he raised concerns regarding anti-money laundering controls within the proposed bill. Lummis pushed back aggressively, calling those criticisms distasteful and inaccurate. She highlighted that the Clarity Act was drafted with extreme precision, containing 16 to 17 direct references to the Bank Secrecy Act and strict anti-money laundering requirements. The argument that digital asset market structure creates a loophole for illicit finance simply does not align with the actual text of the bill. Now, in my opinion, legal banking leaders like Dimon are weaponizing compliance concerns to protect their own payment rails. They understand that once XRP and blockchain technology receive clear statutory recognition, institutional capital will move toward faster, lower cost ledger settlements, posing a direct challenge to traditional banking monopolies. Now, why is Elizabeth Warren setting a July 23 deadline around Trump's crypto income? Just as the Clarity Act approached a potential floor vote, Senator Elizabeth Warren introduced a massive political obstacle into the negotiations. On July 16, Warren sent a formal letter to President Donald Trump demanding voluntary financial disclosures regarding his crypto income from January 1 through July 15, 2026, setting a strict deadline of July 23. This demand stems from Trump's 2025 financial disclosures, which revealed approximately $1.4 billion in crypto-related income associated with projects like World Liberty Financial and the Trump meme coin. Warren and her colleagues argue that passing legislation that directly impacts the valuation of digital assets creates an inherent conflict of interest if elected leaders hold substantial financial stakes in the sector. Now, in my personal opinion, establishing a July 23 deadline right before the Senate recess is a tactical move designed to slow down the bill's momentum. Shifting the spotlight onto financial disclosures creates a headline distraction that threatens to tie up legislative floor time when every single hour counts. Now, are Democratic demands threatening to stall the Clarity Act indefinitely? The debate in the Senate has split along stark ideological lines. Several Democratic lawmakers, including Senators Chris Murphy, Chris Van Hollen, and Jeff Merkley, have formally stated their opposition to the current text. Senator Adam Schiff has insisted that the Clarity Act must include explicit statutory provisions preventing Trump and his family from profiting from the digital asset industry. Republicans argue that ethics rules and market structure regulation are two completely separate issues. They contend that attempting to attach ethics amendments to the Clarity Act will guarantee its failure, noting that similar provisions were already voted down during the Senate Banking Committee markup. Now, in my personal opinion, holding an entire financial sector hostage over partisan conflict sets a terrible precedent. The Clarity Act is supposed to establish consumer protections, clear rules of the road, and regulatory certainty for millions of XRP holders. It should not be weaponized as a political tool. Now, what does the analyst here, Merlijn The Trader, say about the high-stakes political bottleneck? Crypto trader and analyst Merlijn The Trader recently shared a compelling breakdown of the situation here on X, pointing out that the frustrating nature of this legislative standoff. Merlijn emphasized that the Clarity Act is not failing because of its policy design or technical flaws. Instead, it is failing because of purely political battles. Merlijn noted that years of industry anticipation for regulatory clarity now hinge on a procedural fight over one man's balance sheet. With the August 7 recess fast approaching, the Clarity Act is also competing for limited floor time against a massive national defense spending bill. if political posturing forces the bill off the schedule, the industry faces an extended period of legal uncertainty. In my opinion, Merlin's assessment highlights the core frustration shared by investors worldwide. When sound policy is sidelined by political maneuvering, market participants and innovative fintech companies are left operating in limbo while global competitors seize the advantage. And finally, here is our overall conclusion. We have reached a decisive crossroads for XRP and the broader crypto market this July 2026. The technical architecture of the Clarity Act is solid, backed by 16 to 17 explicit anti-money laundering safeguards and bipartisan committee work. However, with Elizabeth Warren's July 23 deadline passing, a competing national defense bill taking up floor space, and the August 7 Senate recess drawing near, the window to pass this landmark legislation is closing rapidly. If lawmakers fail to strike a deal within the next few days, Senator Lummis' warning could become reality, freezing comprehensive U.S. crypto regulation until 2030. For XRP holders, the coming days will reveal whether policy or politics ultimately dictates the future of digital assets in America. So stay tuned, stay informed, and keep a close eye on Washington. And this finally ends our video. Thank you very much for watching, and see you on the next one, or you might just as well check this next recommended video right here.